You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey mamas, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. Today we've got a pretty awesome topic and guest, and we're going to be talking about managing our health. Eleanor Duelley is an integrative nutritionist and holistic health coach. Her passion is empowering people to give up dieting, nourishing their bodies with whole foods, and creating a lifestyle they love. Eleanor, I can't wait to talk about simple and effective ways we can ensure we're taking care of ourselves via nutrition, beyond just eating kale or making a green smoothie. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thanks for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity to share.
Good. Okay, well, first things first, please tell us your story and how you got started as an integrative nutritionist and holistic health coach.
Yeah, well, I have a very different past. I spent some time in the military and before I was married. And then when I got married, I got out and became a military spouse. And so my life was very busy and moving a lot for those military moms out there. I've been there. I also am a mom of three. So moving cross country to different countries with kids, schools, all that stuff. So after my third child, I really got deep into the diet culture, and I had to get my body back. And, everybody from every which way was telling me, oh, this diet or that diet. So I got pretty deep in that kind of stuff. And I was working out every day. And the more that I did, the harder it became, the overwhelm, the burnout. And I didn't feel right in my body. And I remember thinking, if this is what it's supposed to feel like I don't want to do this. Like it doesn't fit. And so I started digging a little bit into like, don't I feel good when I'm working out all the time? And I've cut all these calories and I've cut carbs and I've done all the things, and started discovering that I wasn't nourishing my body. I was overworking physically. I had three small babies at home. My husband was deployed, so basically single parenting. And it just was very overwhelming. And I was like, there has to be a better way. And so I became a health coach. I did a program through IIN, if anybody knows the Integrative Institute for Nutrition. And I just kept going. And the more I learned about my body and the things that I was told as a woman and a mom throughout my 20s, 30s, and now 40s, it didn't sit well with me because it didn't work for me. And it made me feel like I was less than, or something was wrong with me or my body. And I wasn't going to accept that. And so I went and got my master's in nutrition and my board certification, and started realizing that empowering women to learn about their own bodies and how to best take care of themselves when they have everything else in their lives as well is the most empowering thing that we can do as women.
Yeah. What an incredible story. And the fact that you were able to move in that direction and pursue that, even with the busy life and schedule you had with a husband who was deployed, like I commend you for that. That's incredible.
Thanks. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out here probably nodding their heads that yes, the military life is one of sacrifice, but it's also one of a lot of reward if you seek it and accept it. And so, thank you for that. And I'm just one of many.
Yeah. All right. So, our audience is mainly working moms, little kids. I hate to say this out loud. I'm also sometimes guilty of this myself. We don't always put our nutrition first. It's hard to always think about this when like you have a really lengthy list of to-dos, and it can be overwhelming to add another thing on there. So for those listening who feel this, or even for those listening who might think nutrition is not something that comes naturally or easily to them, or maybe they're in your previous shoes where they're just listening to lots of noise around them of people telling them what to do or what not to do, how would you tell them to get started? You being this expert in this area.
Well, first of all, I want to kind of dispel the like persona of the perfect, right? The perfect mom, the perfect nutrition, the perfect workout model, because I feel like as moms, we put that pressure on ourselves a lot. We hold ourselves to expectations that we don't even really quantify. We just have this feeling that there is perfection out there and I'm not it. At least that's how I felt, and a lot of the clients that come to me are in this funk. And we're all doing our best to take care of our loved ones, especially our little ones that can't care for themselves yet. And it's easy to neglect yourself and to focus, because it's an admirable focus, right? It's a valid point, and nobody out there is going to tell you it's not, and I'm not going to tell you it's not. I'm but i'm also going to tell you that you are just as important, because there is no one looking after you. There is no one looking at your nutrition and your digestion. And when that happens, we can kind of lose ourselves. And so it's more about the mental focus of, we all know the phrase, you can't give from an empty cup, right? And we kind of throw it around, and yeah, that's nice, but um, you can't give from an empty cup. And so it's really important that you think about, what are you doing in your life that is supporting you? And if that is, I got to get more sleep, well, how can I do it? I have young children, or I have these demands on me, or I have, and those are all valid points. And the best way to take control is to look at all of the things that you have on your plate and prioritize the things that need to be prioritized. And your self-care has got to be one of them.
Yeah, Eleanor, you are speaking my language. I am all about prioritization, girl. I agree wholeheartedly. And you know what? Especially with mom life, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something you could pop in there as to why you can't
Yeah.
prioritize that,
And it's
right?
going to be valid. It's
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
thing with us as a community of moms and women. It's a valid excuse, and it's okay to have those, and it's okay to prioritize those, but not at the expense of your self-care. And I'm going to kind of keep repeating that, because it's a point that needs to be driven home. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel unhealthy in your body, if you feel like there's a better way, like I did 6 years ago, when I just said that working out all the time and cutting my calories, this is no way to live. I felt like I was on a roller coaster that I could not get off.
Hmm. So, do you feel like in your practice, I mean, I know we're going to talk about some specific nutrition, foods. We're going to talk about things like that. But do you feel like you look at nutrition as a more holistic approach where, I mean, it counts all these things: sleep, self care, exercise,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
foods we're eating?
Absolutely. It has to be a holistic, a whole body system, because our bodies work that way, right? We don't just have a brain. We don't just have a heart. We have all of these things. And like the body's so wonderfully and beautifully made, we're also tied up with emotions and spiritual health and mental health. And so I was always raised to think like the body is one thing that we treat, if you have this going on, then you do this. Like it is simple. It is if this, then that.
Hmm.
And then over here it was the well, if you think about X, Y, and Z, then like those are your thoughts. Those are separate from what's physically happening in your body. And it wasn't until I really started digging deep on my own self and my own spiritual connection with my body was I able to find the link between intuition, like the signs of my body, how my body manifested things. For example, I like to use the example like itchy skin or like dandruff, you get dry flakes. Well, so we could put lotions and shampoos on top, or we can look under the hood and see the reason that those things are happening. And so when I say holistic or integrative nutritionist, it's looking at all of the dots and then connecting them, not just looking at one dot and going to a doctor or practitioner for one dot. Because if you don't see the whole picture, it's very difficult to treat and to heal in certain areas underneath, like the foundations.
And it may just keep repeating,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. It doesn't heal. So Band-Aids don't heal as much as, my young 5-year-old daughter used to say, just give me a Band-Aid and it'll be better. And, I remember just putting it on and going, the Band-Aid doesn't do anything, right? It,
Right.
it's 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 your body that is strong that is going to heal. And in fact, you have to take the Band-Aid off to let it heal.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, love it. All right. Well, there are so many confusing diet do's and don'ts out there, and you even fell victim to that years ago,
Mhm.
as you mentioned. So, how can a busy mom wade through all the crap and find out what she really needs in her life?
There is so much crap out there. And I don't know. The way I kind of like to streamline it is look, go to somebody you trust, first of all, whatever practitioner. If you have a person you follow on their blog, look up where they went to school or what they're about. Are they selling anything? That's the biggest kind of triggering point for me as a practitioner, because there's so many people that call themselves in the healing space, whether they're coaches, whether they're distributors. I don't know all the names, but if they're selling things and they're also talking about health, but they don't really have the information or the education to back it up, it can get very confusing. Because if they're trying to tell you something about your body, have they asked the right questions? Have they spent any time at all with you? Do they know anything about your health history or anything about what you're going through? And they're trying to sell you a Band-Aid. They're trying to sell you, whether it's for weight loss or energy or any of these kind of buzzwords. So I tend to stay away from things that are buzzy and flashy and quick fixes. If it gives you a promise that like you really want, but in your heart it's like that's not really realistic. It's not really realistic. Then that's kind of red flags for me. So a good way to filter would be to ask yourself, are they selling a product, or are they selling something that is delivering a big promise? Because if so, most likely they're not coming from a place of your best interest. Other way I can help you kind of wade through all of the confusing things is turn it off. Like if things are like social media, if it's toxic, or if you see a post and it makes you feel bad about yourself in any way, whether it's a before and after photo of somebody losing a lot of weight, I know that can be very triggering for people. Or if it's, oh, I did this and these are my results, and it makes you feel less than because you tried it and it didn't really pan out, I immediately unsubscribe from anything that makes me feel less than, because it shields my energy and it helps me to stay in line with the things that I know. And, working with somebody like me, a functional nutritionist, I look at just you. Like I look at your body and I make recommendations based on my education and my experience and the research and the science. And so I think there's a fine line when we get distracted by shiny things and big promises and truly seeking out support that is going to be personalized just for you.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's really not a one size fits all
It
culture, right?
absolutely isn't. But people market it that way.
Yeah, you see all the keto, you see all the Whole30, you see,
Y-
and it's not to say that those things don't work for some people. They absolutely do, but just because they work for this person doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's the thing you need in your nutrition to get you the best results, right?
Exactly, and that's the, like, heartbreaking part on my behalf is intermittent fasting and things that are kind of like, "Ooh, this is a new way if it's weight loss, if it's, getting your digestion on track, whatever your nutritional goals are." I deal with a lot of, people women specifically wanting to lose weight, so that's kind of why I bring that up, but it can be dangerous trying fads that restrict macronutrients, for example, going super low carb and super high fat. It can be dangerous if you have elevated blood sugar. You might not be diabetic, but if your blood sugar is raised in any way and you intermittent fast, you could go into low hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, and you could get into trouble with the way your body regulates sugar. So I find it very difficult for people that are kind of selling diets or programs that don't look at the individual because it I mean it's dangerous and it shouldn't be allowed.
And you're kind of like too, how do I say this? Like you're kind of just throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing what sticks for you,
Yeah,
right? So you could be
right.
wasting months and months of time, energy, and just even like doing some damage by trying all these things out without somebody really assessing you as an individual and telling you like, okay, this is the direction you need to go. So maybe some of your clients intermittent fasting is the right thing, but someone else
Right.
it's more, I don't even know, but you would know. Yeah.
Absolutely. You're totally right, and what I've managed to kind of cultivate is I don't have all the answers sitting in, like, a file cabinet ready to hand you, okay? I sit and I listen and I go, "Well, do you enjoy drinking coffee in the morning? Does it make you feel good and energized, or do you feel jittery and wired and have trouble sleeping at night?" Because those are 2 different responses to the same question of, "Can I have coffee?" If you want somebody to tell you yes, you can find somebody to tell you yes. If you want somebody to tell you no, you can find that. But when you look at the intuition, I ask, what is your body telling you? Because that's the answer I'm interested in. I'm not interested in anything else that anybody else has ever told you. Even doctors who, with the best intentions, read blood work and functional testing. If it's within a certain number, you're good to go. But you don't feel good. But the numbers are good, the blood work's good, good to go. And so I get to ask, well, what is it about it that you don't feel good? Are you not sleeping? Are you up all hours of the night? When your baby finally gets to sleep, are you unable to sleep? Like, what are the things that go into? Are you properly hydrated? How many times do you go to the bathroom? Like, these are things that are going on inside your body that nobody's ever asked you.
Yeah, this is so interesting and enlightening. Okay, so I know you have a Facebook group that talks a lot about inflammation. Can you give us like a brief education on this topic and why it's something that maybe we should be following more closely when it comes to our own health? Like, why does this happen? And what are some signs we should be looking for? How do we even know if it's a problem? Like, this is a very foreign concept to me, and I'm sure to many listeners. So I'd love just like a quick and dirty summary and some things to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. So inflammation is, our bodies are amazing, right? And inflammation is a word that describes how our bodies react to injury, infection, and toxins. Okay. So anything that harms us as a whole inflammation is like the army troops, right? They're coming, they're going to fix the fight, they're going to fight the fight and fix the problem. So for example, if you had, you came down with a cold and you felt kind of cruddy, and your body's telling you just lay around, we're doing all the fighting on the inside. You don't need to be thinking and running and going to work and doing all those things. We've all worked through being sick, and it sucks, right? And it takes that much longer for us to get better. But when our body gets inflamed, it's fighting the fight. So if you were to fall and break your wrist, what would happen? It would get swollen, red, puffy, that kind of thing. Well, that's inflammation, because your body has recognized that there's something wrong and it needs to repair it. With chronic inflammation, now this is your body's constant exposure to toxins or things that our bodies cannot tolerate. Okay. So an example, we all know we can't tolerate poison, right? Like if you get under the sink or something like that. But there's toxins in our everyday life that are just part of who we are, the air that we breathe. If we get behind, a car on the highway that has a bad muffler, like, I'm immediately rolling up my windows, trying to hold my breath, because I know those toxins I'm going to be breathing in. And once our body is constantly being exposed to toxicity, we stay inflamed. Now, this can look like a few different things. This can look like swelling. This can look like digestional problems. This can look like constipation, diarrhea. It can feel like after you eat that you want to go straight to sleep, or you want to unbutton your pants. It's not feeling good. You don't feel good. And if you think about it, if you knock your shin on the coffee table and you get a little bruise, if you were to knock that bruise in the same spot every single day, like overnight, it would start to heal, and maybe, it turns a different color, and maybe if it broke the skin, there'd be a little scab, but then you hit it again and you bust it open, and then you hit it again. And what does your body do? Your body's constantly trying to heal, constantly. Okay. And that's what inflammation is. And so when we eat foods that have been treated with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, things that have been sprayed onto our foods, we eat processed foods, we eat foods that aren't even food. They're chemicals that have been put together and combined with things that used to look like food. If you're following my gist, anything that we find in packaging. So we all know processed foods or junk foods or fast foods. We know they're not good for us. But once in a while, our bodies can handle it. It's made to handle it. But if we keep introducing the same toxins, it's like that bruise on your shin will never heal. And your body stays in a constant state of trying to heal. And when it does that, it prioritizes that healing over metabolism. So if you have difficulty losing weight or having high energy or just feeling good, if you are chronically inflamed, that means your body is prioritizing healing that injury over those other body systems that on the chart of keeping you alive, which is our body's number one goal, doesn't fall very high.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just letting it all
I'm very
sink
passionate
in.
about it.
Letting it all
Yeah,
sink
I'm very
in.
passionate about inflammation.
Taking a
So
tally of all the processed foods we've eaten this week.
yeah. Well, and this is about understanding those things, right? I used to be the person where I would take this information and, it might trigger me or throw me in a cascade of constant guilt and shame and, oh my gosh, I'm eating French fries and it's so bad and I'm so bad. And, but when you look at the world of the possibilities and the beauty of our bodies and acceptance of our bodies, like, you should enjoy those things because our body can handle it. It's about being consistently taking care. And those, I like the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
20% of the time you can be free and not worry about these little toxins and the processed foods. And I did a cross-country road trip with my family. Like, let's face it, we didn't eat well, but we survived, right? We survived.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that way of looking at it too, because I don't think it's sustainable, especially with the lives many of us are living, to always
Yep.
be, 100% into, you know, everything organic and everything,
Yes.
plant-based or whatever, all the grass-fed beef and
Yeah. And it gets confusing,
yeah.
right? I'm like, and so what I want the message is we just need to do a little bit better.
Yeah.
We don't have to change our lives 180 degrees to like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, your husband comes home from work or your spouse and you're like, okay, we're vegan. And it's like, whoa,
That would not fly
whoa.
here.
Right, right. Because it's just so drastic. And so when I work one on one with clients, I'm like, okay, where are you now? What can we do today and tomorrow that's not going to like drive you crazy? It's not going to deprive you. It's going to feel natural and normal, but it's going to feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's how I guide people into true life changes instead of like dieting rules.
Yeah. They're more sustainable. They're more sustainable. And
Yeah,
I like to say, when you feel good, you do good. Right. And I
of
think
course.
that is so in line with what you do, so in line with what I do.
Yeah,
Like, you can't possibly be your best self, be your most productive self, like be your healthiest self, be your most energetic self if you don't feel good doing it. You just can't.
right. And that's why I think the diet culture, well, there's many flaws, but that's the biggest one. Because when we can't do it because it doesn't feel good anymore, or we don't mentally feel aligned with it, we feel that we're wrong, that we are less than, and somebody else can do it and they're just better than me. And that's no way to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. That's a you that's not enjoying the day to day. And who wants to live like that?
Right, and our children see that. Like, I've had the days where I'm snapping at everybody and I'm angry and I'm nasty and I'm like, "What am I doing? Why am I perpetuating this? Because I'm in a bad mood because I didn't sleep well, because I didn't eat well the day before, and so forth."
Yeah.
So, starting to recognize the behaviors without judgment, without saying I'm a horrible you don't know how many times I hear, "I'm a horrible mom," or "I'm a horrible spouse," or I'm like, "No, you're not. You're human." And that's okay. Give yourself permission to be human and do your best to be better.
Yeah. Eleanor, I am loving this topic, but it is now time to move on to our lightning round.
Yes. Oh
These
boy.
are some just for fun, random questions. This is just for our listeners to get to know you on a little bit more of a personal level. So I'm just going to shoot out some fun questions. You do your best to answer
Okay. I'm
quickly,
ready.
and we're going to move from
All
there.
right.
Okay.
Okay. Fun.
So, Eleanor, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Calories don't count.
Calories don't count. It'd probably be tacos. I love everything Mexican.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Nail salon, hair salon, or spa. You can only pick one to visit for the rest of your life. Which one is it?
Oh, spa, hands down. I need my monthly massage as part of my self-care, so that's a non-negotiable.
Nice. Okay. Do you snack at night?
I don't. It depends on the day. Generally, I do not. Only, and that's because I'm not hungry. It's not because I'm denying myself. But generally, not. If I do, I'll have a bowl of popcorn.
Okay, that was my question. I want to know what your nighttime snack is. Bowl of popcorn.
Yeah,
Okay, good to know. What about cocktail? What's your cocktail of choice?
my husband makes the most fantastic old fashions,
Mm,
which I've never had. Never been a bourbon person until he made me one of those. So
nice.
it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one app you can't live without?
I love oh, this one's tough. I do like my sleep watch app because I like to see my sleep at night. Well, the next morning I like to see.
Yeah. Okay, and finally, what book are you reading right now?
I'm reading a book called High Vibes. I forget the author's name, but it's about 111 ways to keep your vibration high.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
All
it's
right. I'll
good.
have to check it out. Okay. Before we hop off, please tell our listeners where they can find you.
Oh, yes. So I'm on Instagram, Nourishing Nutrition LLC. The name of my company is Nourishing Nutrition. So you can find me nourishingnutrition.net, or you can find me on Facebook. And if you'd like to join the Facebook group we were talking about earlier, it's called Clean Eating to Tame Inflammation for Women. So I would love to have you in there. If you mention that you've heard me on this podcast in the little questions, that would be fantastic. But I'd love to invite any moms out there that just need a little bit more support that doesn't feel overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm in that group, you guys, and it is chock full of information and it is not overwhelming to be in there. So join Eleanor in there. You'll get really great free tips, free
Yeah,
information, and be in community, right? Just it's always good to
yeah.
hear what other people are going through too. So not only can you potentially offer support, but you can also not feel alone in what you're going through.
It's a great place. People can ask questions. They can post a picture of their meal. They're proud, picture of their kids. So, I like to try to create that judgment-free zone where you can just come and, be yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Eleanor. I really learned a lot and enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.